What a joyful occasion. We've seen every NBA team play basketball. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Bruski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. And welcome to our viewers on Twitter and YouTube. And if you're on Twitter, head on over to YouTube because you can get a question answered over there. And real quick, some schedule notes. We are on every morning, about 9:30 Pacific time. We're running a little bit late today. Mondays in the afternoons, we're going to have Rick Kamla help us out with some weekly lineup decisions. They'll be sometime in the afternoon, I think right around like 1-ish Pacific time. And then I don't know if you guys saw it on Wednesday night. Rick and Doc are doing Sports Ethos After Dark over there after the games close. I was just in stitches. We'll talk about that in a second. You guys were great the other night. And I think that's it on the schedule. Oh, yeah, we got a weekend show this year. So 7 shows a week for you guys. So stay tuned to sportsethos.com and get caught up at Ethos Fantasy NBA and make sure you're in all of that action over there. And I'm going to ask you about Wednesday night show, Doc. But first, let's shout out our sponsor, basketball fans. It's that time of year again. The NBA is back. From opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all of your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, breakdown, and live odds to bet on during those games. And it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football to MLB playoffs, NHL, and political props. Head to the website today to get the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. I don't know why I felt like being semi-dramatic for that read, but I just did. Doc, so I just, I was putting the kiddo down and I had the earpods in, listening to you guys, you and Rick on Wednesday night. Man, you guys are having some fun the other night. That's a great show you guys are having there.
Yeah, it would be a lot more fun if I could actually talk. But yeah, dude. Just being there, having all the games, being in the command center, having all the games on, having Rick just do his thing and run the show. It's pretty fun. And man, honestly, what a ton of live up to the minute, hey, drop this guy and go pick this guy up stuff that we were doing. It was fun.
Yeah, there was the Clippers game was ending, and so you guys got some play-by-play from Rick, and James Harden shooting free throws, and you guys called the brick, and that was awesome.
No,
and
he called the brick. I lost a $15 burrito on that bet.
That's
that's
a great burrito. $15 burrito.
Money.
What are you out here in California eating burritos in California? My goodness, $15. But you guys, honestly, I'm not even gonna I laughed out loud 3 separate times during that episode. And the fact that it's on during the games and it's such a big night, there's so much action on Wednesday night. And you guys got to call the first Wednesday night of the season. I love that first Wednesday night of the season. It's the big night. It's the first night we get to see all these teams play. And so there are I'll try to get into some of my thoughts from the Wednesday night action as we talk about the Friday night action. We got to see last night was outstanding. I think the first 3 days of the basketball have been amazing. There's so many different angles going on, so much different stuff. Wemby versus Luka alone was worth the price of admission. I don't know, man. Am I in the right place with this? It feels like this NBA season, the first 3 nights have been better than any NBA season in say the last 5 years. Am I right with that?
Oh, wow, you're going strong. You know what? I'll just say this: it's been a joyful experience. It's been
it has been a joyful experience.
Just a lovely couple days. There's been some weird stuff happen. I set a FanDuel lineup yesterday that had Wemby and Luka in it. So it was Wemby and Luka and a bunch of scrubs, right? And I'm like, this thing is money. This thing is going to rack up so many points. And then I look at it, and Luka And Wemby, after the first quarter, like there was hardly anything happening, especially with Wemby. Like that dude was invisible the first half. So, in short, that FanDuel lineup was not a joyful experience. It was, in fact, a terrible experiment. But yeah, the first couple of days, man, Wednesday, Thursday, and now here we are, Friday, ton of games tonight. Like, it's going to be like this, dude, till like April 14th or whatever.
Yeah. We won't talk to our families. I'm kidding. We got that joy down in our heart. Wanted to joyfully talk about this game. The Boston Celtics against the Washington Wizards, of course, because we're going to get through. We're going to try to have as many fantasy takes as we can. There's a lot to cover, but and especially this time of year, it's like there's probably 500 things that we could talk about from a fantasy perspective. So let's just kind of plow through it here, if you don't mind. Boston, nothing much going for them. I will say that it was good to see Keita get some minutes, just in my quest to make Keita a thing. 14 minutes, 12.7 boards, but really nothing in that box score stood out to me, except if folks got excited about Al Horford, they got a dud there. I mean, that's going to come with the territory here. The Wizards side, though, and feel free if you have anything on Boston, Steve, to weigh in, but the Wizards side was super interesting. I mean, Jordan Poole had 17 points by I don't know, it was like 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. So people were in the early game, people were hopped up about Jordan Poole. Big buzzy topic right there. Bilal Coulibaly, I thought there's some decent amount to go over there. He went for 8, 6, and 6 with a steal, and that's it. So he's probably still under the radar in a lot of places. Bub Carrington, he got dinged up toward the end of that game, but he started and played 26 minutes, had a bad stat line. Sarr started 22 minutes, bad stat line for the most part, 2 points.
You know what's not joyful this morning is this friggin' box score, dude. Washington's box score is a hot pile of garbage.
What about your Jordan Poole? Did you jump back into the Jordan Poole?
Oh, yeah. I'm swimming in it. And I had him in my FanDuel lineup. He was on fire, and then it just stopped. Like, everything he did happened in the first quarter. But just looking at Washington, first of all, who is Bub Carrington? Can you answer that?
Well, I believe it's Carlton Carrington, if I'm getting that correct. I forget the school he played for, but I watched a ton of his film over the off season. If somebody can remind me of the school that he played for.
I mean, I do have a computer in front of me, Brew.
Could you tell me where he played for? Because
Pittsburgh.
Pitt, yeah, that makes sense. It seemed like it doesn't matter what it seemed like. He actually, so a lot of conversation I had, just over here, just like, I think this guy can play. I really think he can play. Now, at the NBA level, it's not going to jump off the page, but I think he can legitimately play. I think he can legitimately stay in the lineup, and I think he'll be a 30-minute guy all year long. But does it matter? That's the question. Like 1 for 6, 3 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks. His length, I think, is useful. So maybe he can kind of, randomly bounce his way into some steals and blocks. I don't know about his range out to 3. I think his range just inside of 3 is good. I think he's a natural shooter scorer. Somewhere in this mix, I think he can be a thing. I just think it's going to be super inefficient. And you also have, it felt like, let's see, at least 3 gunners last night. Poole was gunning. Kuzma, who looked out of shape in the preseason, whenever he gets the ball, he's gunning. He kind of got froze out in that first quarter, so it's the take turns offense. And then Coulibaly, that's the one that I thought was super interesting. They gave him license to do what he wanted out there. Now, it didn't show up in the box score so much, like 1 of 2 shooting. That's not license, right? But he confidently went to the rack. And if he's going to confidently go to the rack and he can do all the other stuff as well, that's, I think, the foundation. I probably wouldn't let Coulibaly stay on waiver wires too long if he's still sitting there. I'm on board.
I'm on board in deep leagues, but if you're in 10 or 12 team league. I just don't see it happening this year. Like, there's just no offense.
What I like,
he's a defensive genius.
what I like to do to make it super easy for people, I kind of think this should be industry standard, is like, how's he going to produce? Like, what's the number? I think he's going to be in the kind of 125 range for the foreseeable future. And so if you're in a league where that doesn't play, then don't get him. If you're in a league where that plays, go get him. And I think by the end of the season, that might look like 100. So if that works for you, go get him. And then I do think at the end of the season, you have to worry about the tank as well. What else?
What about at the beginning of the season? Because I feel like it's a race between Washington and Portland to get
Cooper Flag. Well, I think you're forgetting about Brooklyn, good sir. But yeah, I think the tank is on. Did you say Toronto as well? I think Toronto. I think they're racing hard out the gates. The tank team.
Toronto's trying pretty hard, I think.
I really, the sense that I got out of the first day of action was that those four teams were going for it. Well, and I respect that.
Washington, I mean, they got Jonas Valanciunas coming off the bench. They're racking up 18 points and 5 boards. I mean, Corey Kispert coming off the bench. Hey, this is weird, man.
Smoke him if you got him, Washington. And Valanciunas is going to do his thing, whether he starts coming off the bench. So the fantasy value, I think, is going to be the same until he gets traded, or if he gets traded, or gets bored, or they get bored.
I did not enjoy that Al Horford game last night. I have a lot of Horford.
Yeah, when Horford's in, you definitely want him to connect, because, the whole every other night off thing, and he did not. But, Washington, weird things happen. Great. Another disclaimer for folks, it's early in the season, guys. So, like, if you're don't drop Wemby. I know, breaking news here. Like, things are really weird in the first couple of weeks, and the job that we all have together is to try to figure out what's real and what's not, and we'll keep doing that. Let's get to the freaking tasty morsel. San Antonio at Dallas. Just from a watching standpoint, I mean, there's certain things that, like, I can't get enough of. I can't get enough of my son being so just, like, in awe of Wemby. Like, who is that guy? And just constantly asking questions about who is that guy? Who is that guy? That, just as a side note, is a cool, very cool thing the NBA has going on for it right now. The game itself, I thought that they loaded up on Wembanyama. Dallas did. So that really made it difficult for him to just take over. 5 of 18 from the field, 17 and 9, 1 block, 1 3, 6 of 6 from the foul line. That's real nice right there. But it was really hard for him to operate. I'll save my Julian Champagnie love for toward the end here.
But man, Julian.
Oh Champagnie. Yeah, it's coming. It's on.
It's hard not to love that guy.
I'm telling you, and I don't think the train's going to stop. And I picked him up. I guess we're just going to go for it. Got him in almost every draft I was in, if not every draft. And the great Andre Lamouche, he snaked me once. And so I think out of 20 teams, I only have 1 or 2 without Champagnie. He's just good, guys. Like, he's just good. 18 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, and 4 threes. And there was another steal he got that they didn't record. And I'm already writing a letter to Adam Silver about it. But other than
packed stat line right there,
he's just good. And it's going to keep coming, and it's there, and people are kind of talking about him like he's a waiver wire guy, that he's, it's like a injury sort of replacement situation, and it's not. They're going to find minutes for him one way or another. People are going to get injured one way or another. Champagnie is going to probably play no less than 25 minutes per game the rest of the way, and he would have played more if they had played their guys more last night. So he's a must-add player, just flat out. Unless you're in a very shallow league and you're dropping somebody with like a top 75 valuation that's going to be consistent the rest of the year. I mean, we're talking guys like Jabari Smith. Don't go dropping Jabari Smith, even though Champagnie shows you on night 1 that he might just, be a competitor.
A lot of people drafted Stephon Castle. I'd rather have Champagnie.
I love Castle. But it's going to be rough early for Castle. 18 minutes, 8 points, 5 assists. Nothing really else beyond that. Actually, a really bad line. It's yeah, I had Champagny at like around 100 in the season long value, and I'm already kicking myself for not going bigger. I try to go as big as humanly possible. Devin Vassell is kind of the big question mark here. Vassell feels like he could be coming back, say, right around the 1st of November, and we'll get a test right then and there. But again, I think Champagny at worst slides into a 25-minute role and gets you a couple threes, some steals, some blocks, good scoring number, good efficiency, some boards and some assists. And they're going to just want him on the floor because he stands in the right place. He defends well. He's not a guy that needs the ball in his hands, and he makes shots. So that's going to be that. Barnes got on the board. He was real quick early, 17 points, kind of almost all of them right out the gate, 2 threes, 4 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal. I just think this will be the Harrison Barnes that you see every so often, with a kind of a dud here and there disappearing. What else stood out to you in this game, Doc?
I mean, if Wemby and Chris Paul play like they're capable of, San Antonio might have won this game. I mean, they were in it for the entire thing. But Wemby was 5 of 18. Chris Paul was 1 of 6. That's 6 of 24 shooting. And that's awful.
Look, Dallas is good. Dallas is real good. And adding Klay Thompson, it looks like Klay came to play. And you kind of I know almost everybody and their mother faded Klay Thompson. I don't know if anybody out there, if you didn't fade Klay Thompson, I want to hear from you because you probably got bigger stones than most of us. That and it's not because we didn't want to, it's just because the reality of everything involved, like seeing him kind of decline and knowing, yes, he could go and catch nice little pocket passes from Luka and make wide open threes, but A, would he make them, but B, would there be enough of them? And looks like there's gonna be, and that's fun. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, and Dallas has a lot of good fit players. I mean, the center rotation, PJ Washington, it all just comes together for them, and they're gonna win a lot of games in Dallas this year. Closing out the San Antonio side, Chris Paul, 3.7 boards, 8 assists, 1 steal, and the low volume, 1 of 6 shooting. He was going at like 125 in drafts, and that was crazy to see. We'll see if he can kind of add a little bit more teeth to the stat lines. Just a few more points and then a few more steals would be nice. Going over to the Dallas side, I'm personally looking at the center stuff. Gafford, 9.6 boards, a steal and a block. That plays for me. He had 3 of 4 free throws, so it's fine enough start for him there. And then Lively got the majority of the minutes, 28 total. I think that might actually be the trend with these guys, that Gafford sort of capped out at 20-ish. And then Lively.
Gafford had 5 fouls too.
Yeah, but even beyond that, like I just think he's, first of all, I'm a huge Gafford guy, and he's one of the guys that I've got on, say, over 50% of my squads. He was the center that I relied on in the middle of drafts to take on the 2 center issue for most of my leagues, and he was just available right around, say, 65. And I sort of fashioned a strategy out of getting Gafford and Lively on a lot of teams. Lively, 15, 11, and 6 with a steal, 3 of 5 shooting from the foul line. That play where he tried to dunk on Wemby, that was great.
Yeah.
That was Lively's like 7'3", right? Like that's absurd. He looked a little small compared to Wemby out there. Doc, any other thoughts from the Dallas side, and I'll clean it up otherwise.
Well, the Dallas side, the Derek Lively, Danny Gafford timeshare makes me sad. Like, why can't they be on different teams? Why can't they both start and both play 30 minutes a night? Lively looked amazing last night. And I think that should give you pause if you've got a lot invested in Daniel Gafford, because this is a straight up timeshare. And the only reason it wasn't a true timeshare last night is because Gafford got in heavy foul trouble early. It's one game. It's day one. There's no need to panic, but it makes me sad that they're on the same team. Kyrie Irving is going to play, I think in like 78 of these 82 games, like, I think
Mm-mm-mm.
he's locked and loaded. And then Klay Thompson, man, set a team record for the most three-pointers in a debut as a Maverick. 6 of them, 22 points, 7 boards, 3 steals. I mean, I thought Klay Thompson can't play defense. Klay Thompson can't do this. Klay Thompson can't move. Klay Thompson's shot is broken. Guess what? Dallas is good. And if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, this is going to be a joyful season.
Joyful indeed. Joyful indeed. I got Kyrie like about half the teams, and it really pained me because like where I was drafting, I watched Kyrie to fall. I watched him fall to like 30 something a couple times, and I'm watching some of my great competitors that I know will be at the top of the standings against me, scooping up Kyrie Irving in the 3rd round. And I was like wanting to throw things because I got him as like a top 15 guy this year. And you're absolutely right. Like everything looks great for Kyrie Irving. He's just going to hopefully stay healthy. That's always the thing with him. But, all the roles fit. He doesn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting here.
It's perfect.
Luka
perfect.
looks in shape, by the way. I wanted to throw that out there. 28 points, 10 boards, 8 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 4 threes, 6 of 8 from the foul line, 9 of 25 doesn't look so great. He'll get that part worked out. But yeah, just in terms of being in shape, I think both like he and Jokic have struck me as being that perfect balance of strength and then being cut enough to where they can still move. There was that play where Chris Paul was trying to take the sideline on Luka, and he fouled him. He fouled him definitely. He was very pissed that he didn't think he fouled Chris Paul, but he was sliding his feet really, really well, and that bodes well for him long term. And when we were talking playoffs, will he be targeted defensively? If he can stay at this level of health, oh boy, Dallas is going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Anything else on Dallas before we move on, sir?
No.
I'm going to take that as a no. And we're going to get into.
I will tell you that I think Luka and Klay respect each other and are going to have fun playing together. And Kyrie, for that matter. Like, those 3 are all like backcourt legends.
Well, you know what's crazy about this team? I forget who the tweet was from, but somebody's like, there's one of 3 coaches in the NBA with the personality to handle Luka and Kyrie. And it's like Jason Kidd. And I wonder if it's just because Jason Kidd's a quiet guy and he just kind of stays out of the, he's not like trying to, yell or trying to get his point across constantly. And he's got these characters and he's just letting them go. But they all seem to fit. Like every which way, like the personality stuff, the basketball stuff, and just what a job Nico Harrison's done assembling that team in Dallas. That's going to be a heavy, tough out, and great fantasy squad as well. I'm excited.
Have to go throw a hundo on Dallas to win it all.
You do that, and then you can sit there with my my 5 hundo on Detroit to hit their over.
Oh, that's a solid use of $500.
Yeah, I think you just mouse farted on air, sir. That's not a great omen for my bet.
I also bet $500 to me, dude.
$500 also on JB Bickerstaff to win Coach of the Year, and if that hits, we go in Sizzler. It's gonna be awesome.
How much does $500 pay if Detroit wins it all? Like $7 million.
Yeah. If Detroit wins it all, some Detroit Pistons fans gonna take over Amazon or something. But it was Tim McMahon on the tweet, and it's Derek Lively at 7 foot 1 inches. He literally tried to dunk on Wemby, and he had to put his arm up to try to pull Wemby down, and Wemby just no, it ain't gonna happen. Let's get to Oklahoma City and Denver. I thought this game was fun for like the first half. Second half, I was like kind of multitasking a little bit through it. Chet was huge, 25, 14, and 5 with 2 steals and 4 blocks. If you drafted Chet Holmgren in the first round at like 7 or something, and people went, "What?" You feel great today. Jalen Williams a little quiet, 12 points, 5 of 16 shooting, and a low line. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, big line. 28, 7, and 8 with all sorts of goodies, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 2 threes. Isaiah Joe was in the starting lineup for 20 minutes. Not much cooking there. Dort was in the starting lineup. Not much cooking there. We got some Ousmane Dieng action. I just had to say that. Caruso, 19 minutes. No goodies at all. A little bit of a bummer start. I would not panic on Caruso if you took the plunge there. I mean, you kind of knew what you were getting into. There's going to be some high variance numbers, and this is more for the deeper formats. But they just they came out and did their thing and looked pretty damn good. And then on the Denver side, we got Jokic checking in at 16, 12, and 13. Again, I thought he looked capable of having a peak Jokic season based on the shape that he's in. I thought he was 5 to 10 pounds over in the preseason and not really worrying about it. But in this game, it just looked like he's ready to play this season. And he probably knows that he's going to have to carry a heavy load. And that's scary when you consider that I have him still as the number 2 guy going forward, with Wemby as number 1, and Wemby setting to have some sort of a historic season that we can hardly really even conjure. Jamal Murray, quietish, 12 points, 6 boards, 4 assists with 2 threes and 2 steals. I actually take that, on a first night of action. Christian Brown was maybe the fantasy story of the night with 16 points, 2 steals, 2 blocks. We get some dancing Doc. And Michael Porter Jr., 15 and 8, just quietly chugging along. I think that's going to be Michael Porter Jr. in a nutshell. He's going to quietly chug along and maybe have a top 40 season. Did I miss anything in this Denver setup here?
Not really. Russell Westbrook played 21 minutes, hit 2 of 10 shots. The Christian Brown thing is so interesting because people are like, hey, do you like Brown or Strother, or is it going to be this Peyton Watson kid? And, some people are like, oh, I think Watson's one to watch. And other people are like, Rick and I were like, ooh, we like Strother's 3-point touch. Christian Brown is the guy that's been getting it done for 2 years. We've all seen it. And then he came out last night, played 29 minutes and had a great game. 2 steals, 2 blocks.
Yeah. It's in some really jump off the page kind of plays. I mean, making a defensive play on one side of the court and just running the floor and then ended up getting the bucket on the other side. And so just really the star of the show in many, many different spots, that Christian Brown. So I don't know if he's going to have the goodies, the steals and the blocks like that. He's definitely not going to have 2 steals or 2 blocks per game the rest of the way. We know that. But can he stay over 3 combined steals, blocks, and 3-pointers? That's, I think, the key question for Brown. And then the efficiency will be a question because he's going to shoot mostly threes. One thing that may happen here is that it balances out with some of the dunks and some of the cuts. And if teams are going to double Jokic, that I think would be an interesting case study and some stats research to see how that affects his teammates' field goal percentages, because he's just playing with the ball and figuring out, well, which rotation are you guys going to have? And the double team's not really going to work. I'm curious if teams will start doubling Jokic and then try to get into the more exotic stuff or what the teams are going to do. But Denver couldn't keep it close in this game. 102-87 was the score. And then in the other game, which I actually watched.
Whoa.
Yes.
Not so fast.
Not so fast, says Doc.
Dude, the Thunder went to Denver and kicked that ass. They kicked their ass.
They
are not scared of anybody. And Jokic is going to have an interesting season because this is the first time in like 5 years that every fantasy and NBA analyst out there hasn't been like, oh, Jokic, the best, most consistent player in the NBA, which he still really is. But now it's like, oh, I think you take him 4th in fantasy. I think you take him 3rd.
Nobody said that. Who said that? Some guy that likes Luka a lot? Oh, yeah, that's right.
You take Wemby, then you take Luka, then you take Joker or SGA. I don't care. I'll take any of them. But, like, this is the first year we haven't just been giving all the love to Jokic. And They just got their ass kicked by a team that many of us, including Las Vegas, thinks has a pretty good chance to win it all. Like OKC is not playing around. Like this was game one. They're going to go try to win. They're going to try to win 70 games this year.
I aggressively, and you go to the wager pass and look at my win total bets. They were my top play. And I think we're going to see, like you said, something historic. 70 is not off the table for me. There's some controversy here, folks, by the way. I think it's out there in the internet ether that it might be Hartenstein.
What?
And I know. It's really bad. It's going to mess with me for years. And every other player name is going to just crumble after that. But it's either Hartenstein or Hartenstein, folks. We don't know.
How about
can we just ask him? I just feel like that would put this to an end. But apparently in the like Hoops Collective podcast, it's like they got corrected. I think Windhorse said that OKC, being the source here, educated him. And OKC's got a good PR department. I actually like them a lot. And they said it's Hartenstein. And now I'm just lost.
Well, we were saying Hartenstein.
No, we're saying Hartenstein.
We went and watched video. We went and watched video, and they were calling him Hartenstein. So then we changed to Hartenstein. And now you're telling me that we should have just stuck where we were at the beginning.
I think, but there's been an added shh in the middle, which is also my producer saying,
it's like an SCH.
Stop talking about Hartenstein. He's not even playing. But that if he's playing at 70 wins are on the table. And if he's not, who knows? Maybe they still are. So, I mean, I don't know what bets you can get on out there with that. You totally see it on game one. They go into Denver. Denver really wanted this game. They started off strong, didn't have enough in the tank. I think Denver is going to get a little chippy this season. Andre Lemos says he's going to track down his parents. Andre has a particular set of skills.
We should just
have Isaiah. Actually happen.
We should just have Isaiah on the show next week.
I think that's actually, he's not doing anything right
He's
now.
not doing anything.
Isaiah, you know what? Given the fact that I've been touting him for 4 years, I think actually we have some cash in the game.
We should have some clout with him.
We should. Minnesota at Sacramento, pardon me, as I'm working through the flu over here, guys. This was my preferred game. I watched this one because I wanted to see the Keon Ellis stuff. We'll get into that in a second. We're going to cover the Minnesota side first here. Julius Randle, revenge, right? Where's Rick when we need him? I'm so glad Rick's not on the show today. Rick is it'll be Monday next week, and we're going to have to hear about this. 33 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 5 of 6 from 3. He took and made a lot of tough shots. I think even the Kings post-game stuff was very revealing. Like Mike Brown has a hell of a presser after the games. Like he tells you everything. And the questions that are coming out of the Kings media are getting real good. It's really cool to see. I mean, it was really bad there in Sacramento for a long time on kind of that side of things. You know, just like the storylines were so bad. Like, you know, like listening to Luke Walton talk about how smart it was for, you know, Corey Joseph to do certain things. And then the crew kind of just, yeah, of course. Yes, of course. And now it's like, no, we're talking real basketball stuff. We're talking real basketball principles. Mike Brown's like educating everybody on the fly. It's really good stuff. I highly recommend that you follow some Kings beat writers and just listen to what's going on there. Anyway, they were not scared of Randall at all. They tipped their cap to him and said he made a lot of tough shots because he did. So I don't know if this is the Julius Randle breakout game or if it's an indicator that Julius Randle is going to have a good game and a bad game and have a good game and a bad game and so on and so forth. Downstream, Anthony Edwards, 32 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 5 threes, 7 of 7 from the foul line. I think if you took Anthony Edwards early, you're feeling pretty good. What do you say, Doc?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's the guy. He knows he's the guy. He thinks he's the guy. He's the guy. I mean, he's going to play 40 minutes. And he's going to shoot 25 times every game. And if you're on the court that much and you're as good at basketball and sports as he is, all the other stuff is going to follow. So, yeah, I mean, he was a no-brainer to me, and I liked it when I reached for him. If I got a middle of the first round pick and I didn't want to deal with Embiid and Anthony Davis and all that, I mean, Edwards is safe. That's the thing about him. The other thing that's interesting with Randall is game one, he did not pass the eye test. Like, he didn't look right. He didn't look engaged. He didn't look he just didn't look right. Last night he looked right. And that makes me feel better for those of you who took Julius Randle. And the other thing about this game is, hello, Nas Reed. Thank you very much. Let's go. I've got tons of shares. Great game. He's just waiting for somebody to get hurt.
I'm really just waiting for the segment Doc dances, because Nas Reed's got your hands up in the air. 27 minutes, 19 and 13, 4 threes. Wow. I mean, that's really promising. The minute distributions are really promising here too. Rudy Gobert, 35 minutes. Nas Reed, 27 minutes. Edwards, 39 minutes. DiVincenzo, just 27 minutes. He's the kind of the bigger loser in this game.
27 minutes is good, though. Like, I need more from him in 27 minutes.
You know what happened with him? And I might have to hit the mute button to get a cough in here, but maybe not. He got so many defenders that are really bad for him. Like, so he got Keon Ellis a bunch of times. He got De'Aaron Fox a bunch of times. And really, like, he's great and all. And he did decent enough with the opportunities that he had. But those two guys are blankets. Like, sorry, you're not going to get the easy stuff with those two guys draped all over you. So that, to me, kind of explains a little bit about what's going on. But really, it was the Julius Randle show. And I think even Sacramento, if they played that game all over again, would have been fine. Pardon me, with all of the action defensively that was going on. So I think this is just a dud for DiVincenzo. I wouldn't read much into it. And I would definitely be leaning into some sort of a buy action there. If he gets dropped, or if maybe you want to float an offer for DiVincenzo, I would be all the way behind it. I think he's going to be like a top 75 guy this year, maybe finish even in the top 60. So I got real aggressive there, and I think you guys should get aggressive too. Just cleaning some other notes up. Jaden McDaniels, I don't think he's going to be a thing this year. And it kind of sucks a little bit. I didn't rank him high. I don't think I even ranked him medium. I think I ranked him real low, but it kind of just sucks. I think he's a good player, and he's going to get kind of squished out of the scene there.
Hey,
and
just before we write him completely off, Jaden McDaniels and Nas Reed both played 27 minutes. One of them took 10 shots. One of them took 9 shots. One of them put up a monster stat line. One of them did not. I'm not writing Jaden McDaniels off yet. Like, he had a bad night. If he hits, 7 of 9 instead of 6 of 9, his whole stat line changes. I think he had a tough night. And if you're, for some reason, sitting on Joe Ingles, cut him and go get somebody else.
Man, the Jingles hate is strong in this show. Shout out to all the people tuning in. This is Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube, Discord. On YouTube and Discord, you can actually drop questions and get in the show. To the Discord, if you're not in there right now, I doubt you're going to get there during the show. If you do, good job. Go to sportsethos.com and find the link there. But as far as getting onto YouTube, presumably you guys could do that and get a question. We'll try to get them in at the end of the show here. And hello to all of you. The Sacramento Kings side of this, this one really, it fell into the category of these guys are trying to figure out DeMar DeRozan. Like, that was clearly on display. First half, it kind of worked pretty good, and I think they're fairly happy with that. In the second half, Mike Brown was pretty funny after the game. He name checked Keon on a forced shot off of a steal, and I laughed. I was like, he's getting the kind of younger player rookie treatment there. And then he mentioned a guy that took a lot of twos, but he didn't say him by name. He didn't say DeMar DeRozan, but DeMar DeRozan immediately after that play took 2 or 3 really questionable shots where he was really forcing the action. And that really, against a good Minnesota Timberwolves team, was the difference in the game. So their ability to share the ball on display in game one. So that narrative that they can't share the rock. I mean, Domantas Sabonis, 1 assist in this game. Domantas Sabonis, if you counted the dribble handoffs in this game, I don't know how many there were. I'd say 3 or 4. I don't know. It was not a lot. And the comments after the game, I'll get to those in a second, but trying to figure out this team and figure out what they're all about. If Sabonis is going to get 1 to 5 assists per game on most nights, that's going to be a big blow to his value. 24 points, 8 boards, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 threes for Domantas Sabonis. So I'm sure his fantasy GMs aren't crying in their beer this morning, but that 1 assist is just staring you in the face. He ain't going to hit threes every night, folks. These were some wide open rhythm threes. I've watched this guy take wide open rhythm threes for a few years now. It's not going to be higher than 30%, guys. It's not going to be higher than 30%. So he's not going to take a lot of them. You're not going to get a lot of threes out of him. Steals and blocks. He might get some steals. I like the Kings defense, depending on what they do with things, but and that's got a heavy asterisk that I'm not going to get into right now. But if he's going to get 1 assist per game, that's going to be a mess. And I actually will get to the Mike Brown post-game comments. He was asked about dribble handoff and the lack of Domantas Sabonis, and he went into sort of an extended defense that they like the 2-point shots that DeMar DeRozan brings to an offense, and that he's going to get them. It was weird because I don't think Mike Brown believes that. I don't think he believes that they should be taking contested 2s. I think he believes that they should be running dribble handoff with Domantas Sabonis and spraying the ball into wide open 3-point shots and knocking down a bunch of threes.
You know what I don't believe? I don't believe that Sabonis is going to have 1 assist a game. Like, that's garbage, dude. It's 1 game.
That's easy. He'd have to be benched to not get 1 assist per game.
It's 1 game.
What's the average that we projected for Domantas Sabonis? I want to say the average for his assist is 6?
I was going to say 5.5.
Something like that. If he goes down to 4, I think his owners are going to be bummed out. I just think that's going to be the case. We'll maybe get a number on that. But
the other thing that's interesting is we've seen big men turn in to 3-point shooters. The fact that he hit 3 in game 1 is eye-opening. And I'm with you. I mean, he averaged 0.4 or 0.3 3-pointers per game for the last 3 years. So for him to hit 3 on opening night, is he going to stop passing the ball and start shooting bombs?
That's actually I was going to go there. Is if that's the plan, because DeMar is going to get the ball more. And by the way, the promise that they made to Malik Monk for more minutes, and I'm just speculating there, guys, speculating. Promise that they made to Malik Monk that he's going to get more minutes and the ball, which you saw last night, by the way. You saw that in action on a defensive timeout possession. They kept Monk in the game. And Anthony Edwards, driving down the lane, gets a kind of a free run when a dig from Malik Monk could have very much complicated matters. And you could have had a first-team all-defender, in my opinion, in Keon Ellis in the game. There would have been no reason not to have your defensive guy in the game over Malik Monk. And the coach said, you know what, we're going to go with our guys. We got a lot of faith in you guys. We're going to go with you guys. And then they lost. It was a stunning moment from a behind-the-scenes kind of coaching contracts kind of situation. Is you're going to keep your contracts on the floor. You're going to start Kevin Huerter, and you probably could have won this game going away, because the Keon Ellis minutes when he's on the floor with the core 4, whichever 4 you want to call them, they are so dangerous because he's everywhere. He's covering Anthony Edwards credibly. That's amazing. There's 5 guys in the league that can do that. He's out there blowing plays up. His first play in the game, he blew up, got a steal, they ran the other way. So it was a fascinating discussion from like, can you rehab Kevin Huerter's value? And there's more beyond that. I don't want to turn this into a Kings show or anything like that. That could happen. But I think good things that happened for the Kings. Keegan Murray, who we're super high on, 23 and 11, 5 threes, no steals or blocks. So that's a bit of a bummer there. Hit his 2 free throws, 43 minutes. You got to feel great. Had Keegan Murray ranked in like the top 40. So that was awesome to see an excellent start there. De'Aaron Fox got a little dinged up on one play. He got a bang knee. Nothing too serious. He played 37 minutes, 15 and 11, 6 of 14. I have a ton of Fox everywhere. I think he's got a top 10 finish in him in fantasy leagues, which you wouldn't know by last night's box. So that's maybe a soft moment for folks to try to go out there and get De'Aaron Fox.
Top 10?
Yeah. Top 10 against the grain.
No, I don't see it.
Scary. Sometimes
you know
the ranks are scary.
Kevin Huerter, man. Like, is there a more frustrating, confusing player in the league? Like, he gets all this opportunity, all these starts, and he just never does anything. Like, he hasn't had a good game since he was in Atlanta like 4 years ago.
The injury last season took he's on that little razor's edge where if the athleticism gets, goes south just a tiny bit, he is going to not be as playable and by a large margin. And that's what happened last year and it gets really exasperated when you have Sabonis on the floor at center because he's already being targeted. You're already playing an offensive up-tempo game because that's the only way that you can kind of win overall with Sabonis on the floor. So if you stack another bad defender there, it gets real bad real fast. And that's why Huerter really struggled last year. I think it got into his head. His shooting was his career low, I believe. It all went downhill real quick. And this game, it was funny. In the pregame, he looked legitimately not scared, but he looked like a guy that knew, like, there's a lot on the line here for me. And I'm just going to go out there and do my best, but I'm not sure if I have it. That was what I saw in his eyes, if we're reading eyes and making predictions based on eyes, which is dangerous business. But the putting, you got a guy in Keon Ellis, and a lot of people are probably going to be asking, because I had Keon Ellis ranked super high in the B150, like super high. And people are probably like, what? 11 minutes, 2 points, 2 steals. That's it? A board? I'm saying hold and I'm saying pick up. I think the Kings have up to 20 games to figure this out. If they play Keon Ellis off the bench and Huerter starts and plays, say, 25 minutes, and Huerter's just doing fine, hitting threes, not getting in any trouble out there, and it's working. Like, even then, at that point, the stuff that Keon Ellis is going to put on film is going to get harder and harder and harder to deny. That's kind of the worst case situation. And if he gets on the floor for those 20 plus minutes, he's going to get you plenty of threes, steals, blocks even. And he can actually play offensively as well. So anything they ask him to do, they're not going to ask him to do much, or if anything, this year, but he can perform if asked. So if Ellis is on your wire, unless you've got a top 75 guy that's going to be that way for the rest of the year, or a top 100 guy that's super locked in, this is an auto ad for me personally. I would understand if it's not for you. If you don't have the same belief in Keon Ellis that I have, I would understand that. But I think they've got probably about a 20-game window at most to try to rehab Kevin Huerter's value. And then if the losses start piling up, what was really interesting about this game is Mike Brown complained about having to have his guys play 37 plus minutes, 43 minutes in the case of Keegan Murray and DeMar DeRozan. And I don't know what that complaint was all about. Is that complaint talking upward, so to speak, about I'm having to play Kevin Huerter 20 minutes and maybe I don't think Keon Ellis fits in any of these other roster spots, and that's a complaint? Or is he hard coaching Keon Ellis and wanting him to not take the one shot that he took that was sort of a force, not really? I don't know. It was really a fascinating post game, but I'm not definitely going to fade Keon Ellis after watching however much film of him blowing up play after play after play after play. Coaches see that. They see it just flat out. Mike Brown's not a dummy about this. He knows what Keon Ellis brings to the table. Malik Monk, 17 and 4 out of 5 from the free throw. That part's going to be interesting because he doesn't take less money without a promise. And I think he'll be just fine for fantasy GMs. DeRozan, 26 points, 8 boards, 12 of 14 shooting. They're going to make that work. And when I say make that work, they're going to force it to work. I think a lot of people faded DeRozan, and I tried to be as aggressive as possible with DeRozan. I don't know if I even got on the train. He's going to be the guy for the first 20 games. And then after that, we'll see how it goes. So if you want to kind of plan that trajectory, you maybe get in on the DeRozan action early and fade it on the way out, because then they'll rebalance. And so if you have DeRozan now, let him have a couple big games and then possibly sell. Anything else on Kings, Minnesota that you'd like to talk about, sir?
Oh, hello.
Hello. Sorry, monologuing.
At the beginning of this show, I was going to tell you that I didn't watch the Kings game, and you might have to take the reins and really just run with it and just pretend like I'm not here and just
do what I always do.
Go on a 7-minute Keon Ellis 11-minute rant.
Some like very theatrical music to that entire rant. Let's talk about tonight's action. We got so much on this.
I love the fact, hold on. I felt like I was watching you sitting in your bed, trying to convince yourself while you're looking at your phone and you're looking at your lineup. And Keon Ellis only played 11 minutes.
You know what I did, Doc? You know what I did? Actually, so I was watching that game and I was like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I'm just going to say it right now. At halftime, I was like, don't panic, Keon Ellis. Let's just get this over with right now. I just laid the parameters out. It's like 15 to 20 games of frustration, then reap the rewards, people.
I felt like we got to watch you work through all that in real time. You're just like, hey, I would
appreciate that, but I worked through it all first half last night. All first half, I was like, oh man.
Well, the good news is, I said it before, it was the last thing I said, is Kevin Huerter sucks. And Kevin Huerter is one of the most confusing fantasy basketball players that I can recall, because he gets starts, he gets minutes, he gets opportunity. And he hasn't done anything for like 6 years. So it makes tons of sense that eventually Keon Ellis is going to take over.
Well, I mean, sorry, you dragged me back in. So, okay, you got 4 guys that need the ball badly. All 4 of them are not getting the ball enough. And when you get to the Keegan Murray part, it makes it even crazier, because this is a guy that legitimately could be a star kind of number 1 on a bad team, and people being super excited. I mean, the Kings pick up the phone over there on Donald Stern Parkway. They're David Stern Parkway. They pick up the phone and they go, no, we will not trade you Keegan Murray. Click. Like literally every team in the league is calling them for Keegan Murray, because they know he's not getting enough touches. They know that he might be the guy they could pry away. You know, they could tempt Vivek Ranadive to try to make some other sort of deal happen. He can't get the ball in this configuration. Do you want to add another shooter that can't defend to that configuration? Like, what are we even doing here? And when the news dropped that Huerter was starting, every person in Sacramento went, what? Why? Keon Ellis just had an amazing preseason and has looked amazing, and you guys are doing this? And I get it. It's to rehab his value. And even if it's for their own needs, like we want a guy that can shoot, and that's great. We need a guy that can shoot, play 25 minutes per game. Okay, get him some confidence in the first 20 games. Actually, the Keon Ellis lag for the first 10 to 20 games, that was factored into my projections, into my ranks. Like it's baked into the cake. So I'm not moved by this.
Wow.
This was all kind of expected and planned, but let's get to tonight's action. We have some amount of games that goes off the screen in my little bar here, and we'll kind of keep it chronological here. We got Brooklyn, Orlando. What I want to get is like one thought on each game. One thought on each game. Brooklyn and Orlando. Any thoughts?
Go Cam.
Go Cam. Oh, yes.
Go Cam.
in texts that I get from Doc that I don't answer until 3 days later. Some smart ass comment from Doc about me fading Cam Thomas, and I loved every minute of it. I loved every second because I mean Cam, he comes out firing, he comes out strong. Hopefully he can just keep it going, and hopefully they can tank well enough so Cam can play the entire way. I do want to see Cam do good. Like I think it would be great if in April and March, late April or late March, that he's doing great. My thought on this game, let's see if Brooklyn's like a stat machine for the other team. That's my thought for that game. How about Philly and Toronto? What's your thought for Philly and Toronto?
First of all, do we know if Quickly's probably out for a while? Is that correct?
It feels like he's not out for a while, but it does feel like the tank was right. Like when he went out, and then he's sort of doubtful going forward. And I think the doubtful tag gave me some hope that he might be back sooner, and not like some longer amount of time. But it just felt like they're taking no chances over there in Toronto.
My thoughts about this game is I need a Scotty Barnes bounce back.
Yeah, big time. I think he's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Preseason, a bad one, a good one, and then a bad one to start off the year. So maybe this is where the good one's coming. Andre Drummond, I think, is probably on a lot of radars right now. And then can Tyrese Maxey be the man without his cohorts in tow? Okay. Let's go to Charlotte and Atlanta. What's your thought there?
Well, I want to see LaMelo do it again. And can Dyson Daniels put up back-to-back good games? Because if he does, it is Dyson Daniels' season.
You know, and I'm doing a poor job of show hosting here. I want to know, too, if you have any ads or streams from any of these games. If they come to mind.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that.
It's really an interesting sort of exercise early in the year. Are you already streaming? And if you've got your streamers in play, kind of which of the bottom of the roster are you looking for? I mean, like, you know, if you're in a streaming situation for Charlotte, Atlanta, maybe you look at a guy like Zachary Risache, you know, a bad first game, and maybe he can pop in and get you some extra points. But again, I'm not the streaming guy on this show. You're the streaming guy.
Yeah, but I'm not. It's too early in the season for me to be cutting people I drafted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a strategic thing, right? I think the only people who are doing that, if you have a dedicated streamer spot in your schedule, then have at it. Or pardon me, on your roster, then have at it. But I
will and have cut people already, but they're injured or and unfortunately I have like we all do, so many teams, I can't even really wrap my head around. I don't really know what's going on with my teams until I get into the website and I'm looking at that team. And at that point, I can manage it and figure it out. But then I move on to the next one and have no idea what my other teams look like. So it's kind of
it's hard to even know who you're rooting for on a night-to-night basis. I basically have my guys that I ranked higher than everybody else, and I have the guys that I faded. And usually it's a yay or a boo.
But man, if Dyson Daniels goes off again, how exciting is that going to be? And also, a lot of people drafted Clint Capella, and Onyeka Okongwu went nuts in the first game. So is Okongwu going to do that again? I doubt he shoots that well. I think it's going to even itself out tonight. But
and they also played Brooklyn in game one. So this could be Charlotte profiles to me as a team that might be a team you score against and you put up stats against. This is the style of play, maybe not quite being there defensively. And Atlanta went off on Brooklyn. And I think, you know, if you've got those guys from Atlanta and you were iffy on them, or maybe you just get an offer that's really good and you're trying to figure out like, okay, is Dyson Daniels, you know, is he arrived? Well, if you don't think he's arrived, maybe before tonight's game, and maybe looking at the schedule with Charlotte, you go, okay, maybe he'll do it again, you know, and maybe you can get off of a position that may or may not be solid with Dyson Daniels. I love the player. Don't get me wrong. I love Dyson Daniels. I think that he's going to play a ton of minutes for this team. I mean, that's the good part about the Dyson Daniels situation. He's going to play a ton of minutes. They need him on the floor a lot. And can he put it all together statistically is the thing that I'm wondering about there. We'll get to see some more LaMelo Ball. I think people are already victory lapping their LaMelo Ball picks in the second round. And to that, I say, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm not victory lapping. I had LaMelo sort of high. Look, I've had LaMelo high 2 years in a row, and yeah, it's kind of ruined me. But I agree with the zig to the zag. Like, the third bad year in a row would have been very bad luck. But we'll see. It's a 82 game season, and he's got to stay upright for 81 of them. His outfit that was put out by Hornets PR for whatever fancy gala that they were at. He's that LaMelo Ball. He's got some style, man. He's out there big balling it. I'll just say that.
Brew. Detroit, Cleveland. Keep it moving, buddy.
I thought you would appreciate that. Okay, fine. You don't have any other Charlotte Hornets takes? You don't have any Trey Man takes? You don't have any Trey Man takes? It was 2.3 minutes talking LaMelo Ball's outfit. Actually, 45 seconds talking LaMelo Ball. Now 50 seconds. Trey Man. You got any Trey? Look, Trey Man had the ball down the stretch, and he took some big boy shots. It was great to watch. Are you considering a Trey Man ad for the rest of the season?
Oh, if I could get him, he's gone in every league I'm in.
Okay.
And Brandon Miller's hurt, so it is Trey Man season. Go get him.
That's a low-key thing. We haven't really talked about a couple injuries kind of right off the bat this year that really just sucked, right? Like DeJounte Murray, hand injury. He didn't almost notice it in the game. That sucks. Emmanuel Quickley, a lot of action on Emmanuel Quickley. First game, boom. That sucks. Moving it along, and I think we can go long since there's so much action and it's early in the season. We'll go a little bit longer for you guys here today. Detroit and Cleveland. So as mentioned earlier, I got a lot of money on this. They played well for 3 quarters and then fell apart in the fourth quarter. Wah, wah, wah. They get Cleveland, who they played in the preseason. Actually, I think this works against Detroit tonight because I think if it was normal, like last season, Cleveland would have been like, oh, these guys suck. We don't need to play this game hard. And then that would be that. But Detroit gave it to Cleveland in the preseason when both teams were trying. I think Cleveland's going to remember that, and they're going to come out firing here a little bit. And as far as Detroit goes, what are you looking out for on the Detroit side?
Sarah Thompson is out. If you want to stream or DFS Tim Hardaway Jr., do it.
Mm-hmm.
THJ was pretty good in his first game. And Thompson's out tonight with the illness. So, yeah.
That's right. And Jaden Ivey, I'm just kind of going to be constantly watching him. Jalen Duren, want to see if he can get into the steals and blocks game at all, especially on the block side. Didn't happen in game 1. Cleveland side, I mean, this is all pretty standard fare. Max Strus out for a bit. Karis LeVert is the streamer de jour or week or month. Yep. And it's just going to be that. Not much action. Craig Porter Jr. is actually a player that I really want to watch. He only got 9 minutes, I believe, in the first one. I believe Ty Jerome, that was the reporting coming out of Cleveland, but Craig Porter Jr. had a massive, let me back off. He had a decent little season last year, getting bigger numbers in the minutes that he got. And that, to me, and watching the film on that, should supersede anything that Ty Jerome brings to the table. But it's been
playing on this. He ain't playing on this team, dude.
He's playing 9 minutes on this team. He's got 9 minutes with his name on it.
You are
9
correct.
minutes, and then we're climbing. I think Craig Porter Jr. gets 20 minutes, maybe even 25 minutes by the end of this thing at the end of the year. It wasn't enough. I don't think he got into my top 150, but I think he got like to 151 or something. That Craig Porter Jr. But I want to see, can he? If he gets 20 minutes a game, then he starts being on the radar and you can kind of lean into what he brings, which is a nice supply of points, rebounds, and assists, some defensive numbers. And then hopefully one day he can get the 3-point shot worked out. But he's a natural natural scorer and playmaker and a slow late bloomer. That's how he got on the radar, and that's how he earned his contract in the middle of last year. It was a really cool thing to watch there. Indy, New York, the ESPN game. A little bit of revenge action on the table tonight. What you got?
Well, these teams have a long storied history. This is a rivalry. I'm sure Rick Carlisle and Tibbs and everybody's going to be really wanting to dominate. It's going to be a good game. I want to see Tyrese Halliburton blow my socks off. I wanted to see Tyrese Halliburton look like a guy that we should have been taking 4 or 5 or 6 in our drafts, because he didn't look that way for the second half of last year, and he didn't look that way in game 1.
I split my if I got the 5, 6, or 7 pick, which I got a lot this year, I split my action between I had Anthony Edwards just a notch ahead, and then Halliburton right behind him. And I think Halliburton, he looked great in the first one. I think that this Indy team is way better than people know. They know what they want to be on the court, and they got a lot of players who can do things. I want to see if Isaiah Jackson gets on the floor. The fact that Wiseman got seriously injured, I don't know. Indy does weird things. Like, they try to make weird stuff happen. Like, they're trying to make James Wiseman happen. And unfortunately, he's now hurt. And that is what it is.
Torn Achilles.
Yeah, that might be the end of James Wiseman's career, which is kind of sad. But this, again, it's like yet another reason why Isaiah Jackson should be, well positioned to get a solid 18 minutes per game. I mean, Miles Turner only averages 27 minutes per game. Somebody has to get the backup minutes. Isaiah Jackson is the guy that we've been talking about for years and years in the per minute stats, getting you steals and blocks. And he's also a great pick and roll partner for Tyrese Halliburton. So, and we saw what again, in the playoffs, you just play the guy, Rick. Just play him. Talk about Rick Carlisle, coach of the Indiana Pacers. That's the player that I want to see if he can get on the floor and what happens there. I got him in a lot of deep leagues, and kind of as a pivot player, the player that I'm relying on to step up as I faded some center action early in drafts. And as I tend to do, we'll see if it can catch up and play well for me. Other than that, on the New York side, this is a bounce back game, right?
I want to see Deuce McBride do it again. I'm feeling Deuce, man.
On top of that, Jalen Brunson, what's this going to look like for him? And then Cat also had a bad game. I think a lot of folks are hoping that this, in a very big time stage, and the optics are big right now, can they kind of get something back from these heavy investments that they made in the first and the second round? I mean, Cat was going in the mid first rounds by the end of this thing, which was crazy, but it happened. And I get it. It was a 2-center format, but that is, front and center on a very big game, on a very big stage. And it should be great basketball action. Actually, I kind of want to circle that game and watch that game. Memphis, Houston. What you got in Memphis, Houston?
Oh, let me take a look. Well, I expect Zach Edey to be better than he was in the opener. Jared Jackson Jr. is still out. This is stream and play Santi Aldama all day today.
Yep. And John Morant was in Zach Edey's ear a lot in that first game. So the learning curve is on. On the Houston side, Şengün, really big first game. Got hit with the dribble handoff against Grant Williams, of all players, and couldn't handle it. And that was the end of that game for them. And they really had control of that game in Houston with a bad taste in their mouth. And I think that that's going to be a really fun matchup. I think Houston's going to come out for blood in this game. And Memphis, after taking their first win, who knows if they've got a consecutive win in them, but they looked a little rusty.
Where are we at with Reed Shepherd?
I think he's probably got like 1, maybe 2 games tops. If somebody took a flyer on Reed Shepherd in a draft, like in one auction draft that I had Reed Shepherd, I was kind of like it was half panic, but mostly I just didn't want to put anybody on the board that I really wanted. And I was like, all right, somebody's going to be happy with Reed Shepherd here and take him from me. And then nobody took him from me. And I'm like, oh, crap, I got Reed Shepherd on my squad. Well, let's see if he can be better than we could project. And let's give this a game or two and just see where he sits. If he's going to be a thing in the first third of the season, we're going to see it in the next game or two. And that's that. Unless you got anything else on Reed Shepherd.
No, I like watching Jalen Green. Jalen Green looks like he's trying to take his game to another level.
And the fact that they got the extension done and made it in a tradable way, and they basically put their bet down on Şengün. I think somebody's going to get an amazing player in Jalen Green. He came out to kill in that first game. It was like he called his shot and then stepped right into it and confidently buried it and then did it again and again and again. And he's going to be so good for another team. If you're an owner of an NBA basketball squad, not in Houston, pick up the phone and make that deal and just have your number one scorer ready to go. Houston, though, we'll just see kind of how that continues to mesh. Chicago and Milwaukee, this is kind of low-key fun. Zach LaVine was springy out there in the first game. That's cool. Yeah. Jalen Smith was on a lot of my teams. I think I got Jalen Smith on half of my teams. Jalen Smith was involved in the action, and I think he's going to hang on as like a low-end play with some mid-round upside. If you need a center solution in a standard format that's not kind of, on the smaller side, I think Jalen Smith is a fine option.
I have Jalen on my Cam Dynasty team.
I mean, in terms of streaming, in terms of looking at the bottom of rosters to try to figure out where you can get some value, I think that that's a great play right there. On the Milwaukee side, I'm just kind of looking for the Damian Lillard, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, just kind of see where they're kind of coming in at. Nothing too much on the radar there.
I need a bounce back from Kobe White, and I would also like to see. Oh shoot, I turned the page already.
Well, I want to see what's up with. Yeah, I want to see that. That's
something.
What I was thinking. What you were thinking. He got booed every time he touched the ball, and then they were kind of talking about it openly after the game, and that phenomena. What does that do for him? Over the course of his career, that added weight is just a little subplot that's notable there. But Kobe White, taking a back seat to Zach LaVine until whatever the next development is. I think that's the story in Chicago that I'll be tracking, is how much is Zach LaVine going to take on? And again, he looked very bouncy. So how long and a lot of players in the league look bouncy. When you see these guys, remember that this is their peak bounciness. Maybe a couple of them need 5 to 10 games to get into their peak bounciness, their peak shape. Then it's kind of downhill from there. The mileage starts racking up, and then they can't quite hit the gear that you're going to see right here. And then that gear ups back up during the playoffs. Let's get to Phoenix and LA. How do you like this as an ESPN game? It's a big name game. Tons of stars on the floor. What are you looking for in Phoenix, sir?
In Phoenix, I want to see if Ty Jones can average 8 assists a game and just feed his stars and keep it going all year. I think there's a chance that he's better than we think he's going to be. Imagine that Bradley Beal is already on the injury report, but he is probable with shoulder soreness. So that's good.
I'll say this about Beal. He looked kind of good out there. I didn't watch the whole game, but
when he's healthy, he's good. He's a good player.
I thought that the Phoenix 47 wins, I believe it was, over was really soft. I think that they are a team that's got a chip on their shoulder, unless it goes bad chemistry-wise. Somebody wants out like KD, it starts to erode from there. But Bud as coach, I think that they bought low on Bud as coach, and adding Tyus Jones. Everybody loves Tyus Jones. Grayson Allen's another guy. I was getting Grayson Allen at like 170 in drafts. This is a guy that was a top 40 guy last year. This is a guy that got paid last year. This is a guy that is good. at basketball. Physically, he added like 15. Like, I actually think it's kind of dumb, but maybe it'll work. If he's hanging around on, yeah, it's not that rough. I forget the stat line off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he had a couple threes, a steal, and a block. But maybe I'm getting that wrong. First game, didn't play anything in the preseason. I'm all about Grayson Allen, if you guys can't tell. He and Champagny were on like every squad. And I think one opposing GM snaked Grayson Allen as an act of war against me. And that's the only reason that it happened. And it happened in like the 16th round. I'm very mad about it, but it's fine. I think I'll be okay with 90% of my squads having Grayson Allen on them. And I think that he fits, and I think that he's got a top 75 finish in him, that Grayson Allen. So there you go with that. On the LA side, just want to see how it's an ESPN game. A lot of them are going to be ESPN games. It's not that big of a deal, but they really played hard in the opener. I want to see kind of what that looks like. And they're, can other guys get more involved? Can, Austin Reeves had a good line, but, I want to see, can he get a little bit more involved? D'Angelo Russell, he needed to probably get involved a little bit more. He took a back seat to the Anthony Davis show. Kind of how does that balance out? You got any other takes from Phoenix, LA?
I mean, I want to see if Rui Hachimura can do it again.
Yeah. That's absolutely right.
And I want to see Anthony Davis pour it on again and, back up that confident feeling I have about him right now.
Beautiful. New Orleans and Portland. This is a sad matchup in a way, but we're going to get to see Zion, I think, in this one. I'm pretty sure he was probable for this game. And then what else are they doing now in the DeJounte Murray aftermath? Like, I know you guys covered that on the Wednesday night show, but what do you think about that? And then we'll hit Portland.
Well, I think Jordan Hawkins is the guy. Now, ESPN's got Alvarado as the starter. He may be, but Jordan Hawkins, Rick and I were talked about this on Wednesday night, looks like maybe the pickup, one of the best pickups in the league right now, I think. And Yves Missy, I really want to see what he does with Zion playing. But
it was a great start from Missy.
I would pick up Jordan Hawkins if you have somebody you want to drop and you're looking for possibly trying to hit a home run off the waiver wire. I like Hawkins.
I like Missy over Hawkins just because if Missy can figure the game out, they can possibly put on the floor a more athletic combination and get away from some of those Daniel Tice minutes and be a little bit more dynamic on the floor. Missy just is an outstanding athletic talent, and he's got some fluidity as well with the way he moves. So there's some real upside there. But again, Zion coming back, that's a mess. Hawkins has done this in the past. He's used an opportunity like this in the past and done well with it. So I think the rationale is strong there. CJ McCollum gets a window here to hit the gas and maybe just sort of improve his stock throughout the league. And that should be fun. Jose Alvarado also low-key puts up numbers when he gets an opportunity. So there's a lot of streaming opportunities for players on this squad. And it's against Portland, who's going to probably just lay down, And I say that tongue in cheek, but I mean, man, they're a tanking squad if I've ever seen one. I'm not caring about much on the Portland side. I mean, Avdia, I kind of just locked him in as being good. So I don't really think there's a lot. I mean, Scoot, you got a lot invested in Scoot. So what's your thoughts on Scoot heading into this game?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him get out there and do it again. Play 35 minutes. That's the thing, man. Portland can play Scoot and Denny every night, 35 minutes a night, and still lose every game. That's what is encouraging to me. Then Lano Banton only played garbage time in game one, not very many minutes. He had some huge games last year. So just keep an eye on him. But I'm looking for Scoot to go off to there. I also think Denny is due to have a big one.
Scootaloo. Also, Brandon Ingram had a big game, and let's see what he does there. If he can kind of improve his stock, if Brandon Ingram has a good 20, 30 game window here, that would be a win for folks who drafted him a little bit later than they normally would, even though that's still probably an overdraft in my book. That, if you can kind of parlay all of that into some good angle for your squad to know that Brandon Ingram has a decent chance of being very good in these first 20 to 30 games and everybody involved wanting that to happen, that could be a thing there. Yes, and Scootaloo, yeah, I want to watch that. And I think that's all I have on that squad. Let's move it into the only two teams that we haven't talked about, just to go full 30 teams around the league here. The Heat and the Clippers. Clippers? No, we talked about the Clippers. Did we talk about the Clippers? No, we talked about the Lakers. Sorry. The Clippers with their spaceship of a stadium. I don't know if you guys got to catch that. That's pretty cool stuff. Clippers land, Clippers wise, anything striking you other than just kind of like, for me, it's just, I want to see this all play out just a little bit more. Like, I don't know that there was any one thing that really jumped off the page for me in that first game, but what do you think with the Clippers? Is there anything that you're watching?
I'm watching Terrence Mann. I'm watching Norman Powell. I'm watching James Harden. James Harden. I drafted James Harden in a ton of leagues, like 9, 10, 11. And the way he looked game one, signed me up. I just hope they keep it going, man. But I think Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, even Amir Coffey a little bit, Derek Jones Jr., those are all guys that are going to play a lot of minutes on this team. I don't have a ton of faith in anyone outside of Norman Powell, but Terrence Mann is somebody I think you can stream in this game with some confidence.
And then the Miami Heat, there was a lot of sad faces for folks. I mean, I got Jimmy Butler in a ton of leagues. He ended up being my 4th round guy. I know. Look at that face right there. Doc's like, what the hell were you smoking over there?
What happened on Wednesday, dude?
They played a great Orlando Magic defense.
And Bam, come on. It's so bad. I can't stand the Heat.
Yeah, well,
I don't like anything about that team.
When Jimmy Butler's playing his 73rd game, I'll have something to say. But really, it kind of comes down to that. Can Jimmy Butler play? I don't care about the results in the first game. And Orlando does have a good defense. I do think they have a Bam Adebayo. No, you
don't care that he went through the whole summer and the playoffs last year with Pat Riley calling him out.
I love that.
If you're not playing, shut up.
I love it for everybody involved. I love it for Pat Riley. I love it for Jimmy Butler. I love it for Eric Spoelstra, who probably laughed his ass off. I love the whole thing.
Bro, he needed to come out in game one and make a statement. And you know what his statement was?
That's a good point right there.
His statement was, whatever. I'm getting paid.
I don't know about that. I watched a good chunk of that game. I really think that game flow was weird. And the Bam Adebayo thing, they got to figure out like what they're trying to do with him. Like, he's not a 3-point shooting big man. He's not a 2-point shooting big man. He's not a dribble handoff guy. Like, he can be these things, but should he? And then even defensively, I think he used to be able to guard 1 through 5 in his second year. 3rd year when he was young, he had springy legs. Now he's big and kind of oafy, he's good in against bigger players, and he's definitely a physical specimen, but they've got to figure out what they're trying to do with him. And then all of the other pieces sort of filtering around that. I'm not panicked about that at all, but call me in 20 games and we'll see how it goes. Okay.
If I had Jimmy Butler on my roster, I would be panicking, but I knew this was coming. So I don't have him anywhere. Zero.
If I had Jimmy Butler on my roster, I'd wear a hat that's got butter and eggs on it. That's what's up. All right, let's get to your questions here. Evelyn Gutierrez, who is more likely to get center minutes, Lively or Kongwu? That's a really good question. And again, If you guys can't get your questions up on screen during this show, or you're not on YouTube, head on over to our Discord and go to Sports Ethos website to get the link to that. And you guys can get more questions answered there. Evelyn says, who's likely to get more center minutes, Lively or Kongwu? What do you think, Doc? Over under center minutes the rest of the way, Lively
I mean,
or
that's the only
Kongwu?
place they play is center. So who's going to get more minutes over the course of the season?
Yeah, who's got more minutes? Who's gonna have more minutes the rest of this season? Lively or Kongwu? Okay.
It's close though. They're both in timeshares. So it's sad that both of them have teammates.
This is one of those razor edge decisions. And what I recommend is keep an eye out on the projections of the Sports Ethos Fantasy Pass. I'm not, I'm plugging obviously, but like, honestly, like you these razor edge questions, we have the best projections in the business. So get on over there. You can see what the projections do for your team. And then you can just decide, what do we think about the minutes going forward, and kind of go from there. I agree. I think it's Okongwu. He's probably got the cleanest path, but this is really close. I mean, if Gafford, who's had a history of knee injuries, if he starts to struggle a little bit, I don't think they're going to have any problem at all putting Lively in for big minutes in Dallas. But Okongwu's probably got the path right now. What else we got?
Something about Grayson Allen.
Oh, I hope so. Wayne T. Champagne. I don't know. Champagne for your thoughts. Christian Brown or Champagne. And you would have to drop Grayson Allen to do it in a 12-team 9-cat. I will not let you do that, but Doc, do it. Do it, Doc.
Dude, I don't know, man. Because I like all three of those guys. I made like recent bias guy, and that
you'll cut a guy. You'll just cut him.
Stat line by Champagne Penny last night. I think I would cut Grayson Allen and go pick up Champagne.
He's doing it. He's doing it, everybody.
I got to do it.
You got to fade the Grayson. Okay. I mean, look, that's how good Champagne is, guys. I'm thinking about this. Don't let people say that Champagne's some waiver wire pickup of the year either. The B150 folks had him on squads. Just remember that. Okay. Do we got any other questions, Andre? Admiral Nita says, better add Christian Brown, Grady Dick, or Gary Trent Jr. 12-team categories. The better add Christian Brown, Grady Dick, or Gary Trent.
Recent bias. I'm going Christian Brown.
It's hard to get off of that first game. It really is, because he's got the athleticism to do the things we want him to do. Steals, blocks, and frees.
Grady Dick was good in his first game, but there's quickly was out. Like there's stuff going on. So
there's stuff going on. He also doesn't get as many goodies, and also the tanking issue, and also. And then Gary Trent, a lot of just traffic on the board for him. I like Christian Brown here. Eric Shulkin says, would you trade Sabonis for Chet? 12. Here's a good one for you, Doc. I like this one for you. Yeah, those eyes, they went way big right there. Sabonis for Chet, 12-team head-to-head categories. Thank you, guys. Great start to the season. Thank you, Eric. Doc, this is a big-time trade. Big-time trade. As Doc sits back.
I mean, that's a big trade. I like Chet. I'd do it.
Look, I'll tell you this. This is why you lift all them weights. This is how we win. Whatever cliche you want to use here, looking into Mike Brown's eyes and knowing how he does his press conferences and seeing how forcefully he committed to the DeMar DeRozan philosophy of play, they're going to try to make that thing work. The assists for Domantas Sabonis, I did not project them correctly after one game. I feel like I projected them too high. I feel like they're coming down by at least an assist a game per year for this year, and lower than what I projected. And I think that puts Sabonis half round lower. And so when you think of Sabonis as like a safe back end of the first round, maybe not even that, like early second round guy. I think in 9-cat formats, people don't realize how much the turnovers hurt there. And then here's the funny thing. If he's not going to be a dribble handoff guy, He gets a boost in 9-cat. So I think you should evaluate Sabonis as sort of an early second-round guy, middle second-round guy, both sides 8 and 9-cat, maybe even back end of the second-round guy. And Chet's looking like a first-rounder. It's Chet for me.
Me too.
John Ramos, please rank these guys in terms of pickup priority. Grady Dick, Christian Brown, Trey Mann, and Bilal Coulibaly. Doc, you want to go first?
Coulibaly is at the very bottom of that list for me.
Boo.
I'm going Brown.
Hater.
I'm going Brown, Trey Mann, Dick, Coulibaly.
Yeah. Brown, Trey Mann, Brown, Coulibaly. I'm tempted to put Coulibaly at the top of that list, but I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna have respect for your anti-Coulibaly stance, and I'm gonna go Brown, Coulibaly, Dick, Trey Mann. Just because we don't know how long it's going to work out for Trey Mann.
Coulibaly's going to be one of those guys where 10 years from now, he's still trolling around the league, not really doing a lot. And we're going to be like, man, I really thought he was going to be special.
We got Miss Cleo over here 10 years from now.
And also the Trey Mann hype is real, but Brandon Miller, as soon as he's back,
yeah, it's going to get squeezed out.
Unless Josh Green goes away, then maybe.
If Josh Green goes away, they're not going to win as many basketball games. That's the problem. Josh Green's a winning basketball player. Doesn't put up the stats, but the Trey Mann, he took some big boy shots in that game. It was great to watch. Beasley 10 asked Champagne or Gafford for 9-cat. This one's easy. It's Gafford. It's good though,
baby.
Oh, damn.
I mean,
I don't know if you guys can hear the clap on the broadcast.
He may be talking about both of those guys are on his waiver wire.
All right. I put Champagne at about 100, and that's within the chaos of everything that's going on. After that performance, I probably, if I had seen that, and it was what I'd seen in my mind, is just like, now that it's here and it's just like, so it's there, it's here. It's like, okay, I probably would go top 75 for Champagne the rest of the year, 9-cat. And that's not going to beat Gafford for me. If Gafford, I got in like the 50-40 range, somewhere in that. Because Gafford is good, guys. Gafford gets stats. Gafford just needs to stay healthy, and he will be just fine based on the ratings and the ranks. Okay, we got, I think, 3 more questions here. Thank you guys for all your questions. If you don't get your questions in, take them to the Discord. That's what it's there for. And get a fantasy pass, because folks get priority treatment with the fantasy pass. You get all the tools. You get all the good stuff. So check into that. Matt Carmody, would you trade Sabonis and Nas for Jalen Williams and Randall in 9-cat?
That hurts my head, man.
I know. I love when it's like 6 players on each side, and the question comes.
Now, this is only 2. Like, this is a solid question.
Yeah.
Jalen's my favorite player of the group. Randall was a baller last night, passed the eye test. Sabonis, that little DeMar DeRozan arrival in Sacramento,
scary, right?
Is probably the biggest thing that happened in the NBA this summer. Like, what is Sabonis going to do? Like, is he a 1 assist guy?
No.
Is he a 3?
No.
Is he a 3 triples guy?
No.
I'm going to go Jalen Williams and Julius Randle.
Yeah. I'm gonna fade Randall in this one. I'm gonna go Sabonis and Nas. It is super close. Champion Black says, drop Risa Shea for Champagne.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, just do it right now. Don't even think about it. Just go do it and then reap the rewards. What's our next one? Admiral Nita. Thank you, Dr. A and Aaron. I'd like to thank you for calling me my first name. That's rare around these parts. I get called a lot of things, but Aaron's not one of them.
Yeah, Admiral Nita's been around for a while.
I love it. One of your faves?
One of my people.
Yeah. Well, hey, guys, this has been an hour and a half show, but it's a big show. We got a lot to cover. We cover all 30 teams. It's a big time of the year. These next 2 to 3 weeks are really big, so we're happy to spend the additional time doing this. Big thank you to Andre. Big thank you to you, Doc. thank you guys for showing up and showing out. Another amazing listenership. I'm very happy to see that number, and you guys are just out there just doing all of the things that we love to see with the support and the feedback that you guys give. So thank you very much. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online, a Sports Ethos presentation. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.